All right, welcome back and good morning. Today we're going to talk about a few vocabulary words around triangles and angles. And to start off with, let's put our definition of a triangle. So you guys already know this, but our definition here, it's just a polygon. And a polygon is some sort of closed shaped figure with straight sides. Okay, so it's a polygon. And it's going to have three sides and vertices. Okay. Now, vertices is the plural of vertex, this next word. Okay, so a vertex is basically the point where two sides meet. So if I draw a triangle up here, actually, let me draw a better triangle than that. I'll use their version. So if we have a triangle up here, then our vertices, there's one here, and one here. The green dots are the vertices, or the vertex. Now, adjacent sides. These are sides that share a vertex. For the next one, the legs of a right triangle. So when we have a right triangle, let's see, we have two parts of it. We have the hypotenuse out here. Oops, that was a mistake. I was doing that with my triangle. Okay, so the hypotenuse, which is right here, and the hypotenuse we always know is going to be our longest side. So it's the longest side of a right triangle. And it's also always across from the right angle. So our right angle is right here. Now the legs, there's one here, and there's also going to be one here. And these legs are on either side. So there's always two legs on either side of a right triangle. So either side of the right angle, I mean. All right, now an isosceles triangle. It's possible you don't know this, but an isosceles triangle is a triangle that has two sides that are the same length. Okay, and when this happens, the two sides that are the same length are going to be the legs. And then the final one for that, the base, that's the side that is a unique length. All right, now your interior angles. We already know this. It's just the angles inside of our figure. So if we draw our picture here, right there, there, there. What I shaded in blue, those are my interior angles. And likewise, our exterior angle, we talked about this yesterday, it's the angle outside of a figure. So we have that shape. The exterior angle here would be right over here. So that's just kind of some vocabulary to get us started for today. Now we're going to go and talk about how to classify triangles by sides. Okay? We're going to draw a picture and write the basic definition. Now the good news is these are pretty easy. You probably have already been exposed to some of them. Equilateral triangle. As you know, equilateral, that sounds like equal. Okay? And an equilateral triangle is going to have three congruent sides. And when we draw it, obviously it's not perfect, but do your best to draw an equilateral triangle. To mark that they're the same, I can put a mark here, here, and here. Since they each have one slash, that means they are the same as each other. Okay? Now, for isosceles, we already kind of talked about this. This is when there are two congruent sides. All right, and so to mark those, once again, this time I'll put 2 marks just to show that they're not the same as the original shape we drew in for the equilateral, but they are the same as each other. Our final one, scalene, this is when there are no congruent sides. So if I ask you to classify a triangle by sides, you would use one of these 3 words. Man, I'm struggling to draw triangles on this device. Sorry. All right. So obviously they need to have straight sides. Mine are a little wavy. But our triangle has no congruent sides. That's scalene. 2 congruent sides. That's isosceles. 3 congruent sides. That's equilateral. So if I ask you to classify a triangle by sides, you're going to say one of those 3 options. So now, the next one, it says classify a triangle by angles. Draw a picture and write a definition. So, just like we did before, except instead of dealing with sides, now we're worried about the angles. So, one type of triangle that we can classify by angles is the acute triangle. And this occurs when we have 3 acute angles in our triangle. Now we still know every triangle, they will always add up to 180. But if, say, this was 80 degrees and this was 50 and 50, all 3 of those, 80, 50, and 50 are acute, meaning less than 90, more than 0, right? So that is an acute triangle. Now a right triangle occurs. Some of you might say when all 3 are right angles. However, we can't have 3 right angles, because if we think about that, if we had 3 right angles, that'd be 90 times 3. That's 270. We know that our triangle only has 1 right angle because the most that the angles can add up to is 180. Okay? Or not the most. That's what they always add up to. I misspoke there. So, 1 right angle, that means it's a right triangle. Now, if we have an obtuse angle, okay, an obtuse or an obtuse triangle, sorry. That means we have one obtuse angle. So this angle here, say it's 125. Now you might notice the other two angles are acute. I agree with that. There's two acute angles and one obtuse angle, but it's called an obtuse triangle. Likewise with the right triangle, there's two acute angles and one right angle, but it's called a right triangle. Okay, and then your final one, very similar to like what we had on the front. The final type by angle is called equiangular. The only difference on the front, equilateral, meant that they had three congruent sides. Equiangular means there are three angles that are congruent. And if it is equilateral, it is also equiangular, and vice versa. If it's equiangular, it's also equilateral. So to show that these angles are the same, I can put an arc on each of them. All right, so one final thing real quick. So the final thing I want us to look at is if we draw some different triangles here on these grids, and there's a lot of ways we could draw a triangle. But for example, if I draw a triangle right here, what type of triangle would this be? So if we look at the sides, this has a length of 1, this has a length of 2, this one's diagonal, it's actually longer than that, so all three are different, so we would call this scalene, because based on side, all three sides are different. And then right here, you can see there's a right angle, so we know it is a right triangle. Now, we have to be careful. We can only do that if it's told, but with a right angle, it's a little different because you can clearly see that's a right angle. Okay, so now let's do a few more. If I draw one like this, once again, that has a right angle here. This time, however, both of these legs are the same, 1, 2, and 1, 2, so it is isosceles. Final one, if we have, let's see, I did not do that right. I can do a better triangle than that. Okay, if I draw right here, and then to there, and then to there, all three of these are different in length, so it will also be scalene. However, you can see right here, this angle is obtuse, so it'd be obtuse scalene. So please do the short It's Learning assignment and let me know if you guys have any questions, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.